they're definitely going to pave the way, prepare the way for the Antichrist. And now getting involved with this great reset with Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum, it's keep your eyes peeled. But the metaverse, which Mark Zuckerberg have opened up, it opened up a very scary realm where virtual reality is going to now meet in real life. So there's going to be like an augmented reality. Virtual will coincide with the physical. So I've told you examples before that here in real life we might see virtual stuff amongst us. When you wear those glasses, that's how it's designed, where you see the real life world around you, but combined with that virtual imagery with that. So then you'll be touching virtual objects while in real life. So this is going to be very scary stuff. And the great narrative, it's all about that. The great narrative is all about the Great Reset and the metaverse. The whole idea is basically this. If you recall what the Great Reset is, it's that our civilization, our current technology, current lifestyle needs to have a reset. And when we reset all of this, we're going to reset it to a way where it's going to be a much more advanced, better technology combined with humanity. Because there's no doubt technology is interacting with the human world. And the metaverse is evidence of that they're paving a way, that they're really going to push that. So because the metaverse is doing this, we have to understand that the Great Reset, this is something that they've always wanted to do. So then, the World Economic Forum is basically ahead of the metaverse on this one. So because they're ahead of the metaverse in this one, they've discussed about the great narrative. And you might go, what is this great narrative now? So I've explained the Great Reset, the metaverse. The great narrative is this, is basically let us narrate how the world will play out. That kind of sounds like the metaverse, right? Like you create your own life. You create your own universe. But this is going to be now real life. Real life, not just something virtual, but real life. So the great narrative is let us, humankind, real life, narrate our future on how we will become or what we will be. And obviously technology is going to play a huge part in this one. So I'm going to play you a recording which is going to be pretty scary. And as I explained to you from this recording about the great narrative, this person explained the great narrative in a way which is very terrifying. So he took it from the World Economic Forum, and from the World Economic Forum, Glenn Beck explained everything of what they explained the great narrative to be. And this is like beyond the metaverse, you have to understand. All right, so I'm going to play it off of my phone, and hopefully people can hear it from here.
We are so far ahead on the metaverse, and you don't even know it. I want to tell you that on Wednesday, the World Economic Forum held the Great Narrative. And they've been promoting this. And what I'm going to read to you is on their website. Now, remember, the World Economic Forum just partnered with the Biden administration to bring these things back, to bring these things into America. We are now partnered with 20 different companies, public-private partnership, and the World Economic Forum. This is Build Back Better. So the Great Narrative was the conference that is happening this week to design the future. Now, I want you to just listen. This is how they opened it. Design the future, the story for the future. In order to shape the future, you have to imagine the future, design the future, and then execute. Over the next 2 days, they will decide how we decide, how we execute the great narrative. But the great narrative is, what is tomorrow going to look like globally? The world has gone through a very difficult time. People are now looking for transformation, but the world needs a new blueprint, a new narrative. Why? Because 1% own more wealth than 7 billion. Almost half the population lives in under $6 a day because the last 60 years were the warmest on record. We can't afford to waste more time on denial of climate change because our digital world will be as important as our physical world. By 2025, there will be 5 times more devices than people on this planet. Because both to inspire hope and action, government, first and foremost, are in the business of installing hope. Governments are instituted among men to, protect these rights. I'm sorry, I thought it was install hope. Imagine what role the government should play to install this new narrative. A whole government approach is not enough. All of humanity approach is needed. Collectively, we are the author of this new chapter. The future belongs to those who can imagine it and implement it. How can we design the government to be future citizen ready? How to lead the world into sustainable and a better future? What will be the great narrative? When we look at the world today, difficulties shape the future. 3 obstacles. First, after the pandemic, people have become much more self-centered. Really, that's the big... What is the role of government? Looking at our current position in human history, we sit at the second of the first minute of the first day of the first year. Human evolution to the wheel to today with technology. In 50 years, it will be totally different. The pace we've grown has been massive, but we are putting our life onto one platform. The future will be based on the platform we design now. Does anybody think so far this is a little spooky? The job is to bring people and humility together. And humility. How is this great government going to make us find humility? Technology. Let's see. The job is to bring people and humility together. Technology and to bring better for our humanity. Obviously translated. How do you see the global future collaboration? Hopefully in optimistic terms. We know the world isn't inclusive or sustainable enough, but we cannot forget the amount of progress made in 50 years. We know the tensions like USA and China, but we have always have common interests. They want stronger cooperation between the U.S. and China, including environmental issues. Don't leave it alone to governments. Business and science need to play a part. Combine the common interest. Make short-term compromises for long-term change. We are in a new transformation of humankind. If you want to change humanity, we must change the world. Let us use our energy to create a great narrative for humankind in the next 2 days. Take our own fate into our own hands.
So that's from the World Economic Forum that Glenn Beck was reading. So I don't know if you caught everything that he said, but the idea is this. The idea that you notice is that government and then the business, they have to play a part and they have to dictate our future. They have to create the future for us. So then they really push a role on government on this one. And that technology, and since they're the ones creating this platform, this digital, this virtual era for all of us, mankind is going to have to learn to coincide, to interact with that, in order to have a successful future. But they're pushing a lot of government on this. So what's the pointer right here? The pointer is when you have government power taking charge of technology and all of mankind being consumed by technology, then what do you get? You get the Antichrist kingdom right there. You get it where all of mankind is consumed by a technology culture. It becomes a part of our life that government who paved the way for this one. They're in charge of this. They have a huge hand in this one. They can even control us. So in other words, they can make you put this technology on all of you one day. But they're already doing that. Because think about this, Metaverse will change all of civilization and culture. Mankind will become a part of that. Technology will become part of human life. It will become a part of human life. But see, Zuckerberg's the one that's doing that, and then Microsoft. Do you recall that government, they don't want these tech giants to be in charge. They want to be in charge. And I'm going to read you some cases right here, but that's why everyone is arguing in the stupid news media, because they're so stupid, they're not intellectual. I don't know why you read that garbage. They keep pushing and arguing government has to take charge of the internet, of technology, so that they can offer that some sort of platform, technological thing, database for the public to use. Why? So government can take charge of technology that we use? And if we use this technology as a part of our life, all you need is one guy to come out. His name is Antichrist, to just be in charge of that government. And he's got his mark of the beast set up, his technology set up, that he can control everybody. That's scary. That's very scary. Let me give you a few articles to think about that. The Metaverse. You know what it's described about Mark Zuckerberg's Metaverse? This is from a bunch of gaming people. From an article from GamesBeat, they said this. The title of the article is, "The Metaverse Will Feel Alive Once Storytelling," like narrating, "becomes story living." The great narration is this, is that they're not just going to narrate or tell you how the world will become. You're going to live in it. That's the great narrative. So if that's the great narrative, already people in the gaming world knows that the metaverse is going to become like that. It's already a what? A narrative. A storytelling thing where you can create stuff. But it's not just you creating the story, creating the game. You're living in it. That's scary. The great narrative is what they say, what they tell you the story, you're going to live in it. Wow. But who's the one telling the story? Is it really the people, or is it big government? Yeah, when they have in charge of that, they then have the power to narrate your life, so to speak. All right, you all follow me so far? That's scary. Here's an article from the trustworthy news source that you all love, MSNBC. All of them are saved people too, you have to understand, you know. They're all saved, they're going to heaven, you know. What did these dumb idiots say? They say this in their article. Policymakers seeking to rein in big tech also need to be careful that they don't harm small startups and nonprofit organizations in the process, both in the interest of maintaining a competitive technology marketplace as well as to protect the vibrant and open internet. It may even be time to consider what a, not private technology, private use, private internet, private technology, what a public internet would look like. And how governments might be able to offer some online services to the public as alternatives to private technology platforms. We don't live in the metaverse yet, but it's disturbing to think that any of us would eventually live in a world entirely controlled by a loosely regulated technology company like Facebook or Meta. You know, they have a point here, because if Facebook, Meta, takes control of this metaverse that you're living in, who's the one dictating for you? Just like YouTube, Facebook, social media is already dictating you what information is correct to them. Yeah. And then people are living by that information too. Wow. But imagine the metaverse much more. But this is worse. These stupid liberals are saying, imagine a private company do that. I would prefer that a private sector more than stupid government. Yeah. You think that's safer? No, because then government has control of everything. At least private sectors, you got competition in different companies. But imagine government taking control of all of that. They know this. That's why MSNBC, their title of their article is, Facebook's Metaverse Evolution is Very Scary. Why? Because they know how much power it would have for one company to rule people's lives, basically. But imagine when you have government. What's the Antichrist system? It's a government system. It's a socialist Marxist type of culture combined with an advanced technology. That's what's going to happen one day. Wow, so then you see the metaverse colliding with the Great Reset. Now go to Psalms 73. Let me show you something here. Let me show you some interesting scriptural references from Psalm 73. Now, before I read you this text, though, I want to share a few more articles with you about this Marxism setup. It's a Marxism setup. We know that it's an elite setup as well, right? We see that. It's Marxist. It's elitist. So rich people, the powerful, they're the ones who control. This metaverse might be more related to the great narrative of the Great Reset. Klaus Schwab and Mark Zuckerberg may be more closely intertwined than you think, actually. You might say, how so? Well, for some of you who don't know, it's so interesting that the great narrative is actually something that was discussed by philosophers and great minds a long time ago. The great narrative, the idea that we see so far, if you listen to the World Economic Forum, you see government having a hand in it, right? And they're the ones that tell you the story, right? They're the ones that tell you the story. So then, actually, this is very similar. I wonder, Klaus Schwab, who's a big part in speaking all of this, I wonder if it might tie to something more Marxist than you think. Well, did you look at Klaus Schwab's life? You didn't, huh? You stupid news media reporters do ad hominem arguments and you dig up dirt in all other people's lives so that you can sully their reputation, but you don't look at your big fat elitist cats. And if you dig up dirt in their lives, you would go, whoa, I don't trust this guy as far as my left foot is concerned. So let me tell you a few things that you didn't know before. First of all, this great narrative that some of you didn't know was also known as something as the grand narrative. Now, for some of you who don't know the grand narrative, you can actually look at a YouTube video, Philo Notes, and they're the ones that can explain it really well about the grand narrative. The grand narrative is actually meaning functions to legitimize power, authority, and social customs. Basically, authoritarians use great narratives to legitimize their own power. And what they do at the same time, it's an attempt to translate alternative accounts into their own language and to suppress all objections to what they themselves are saying. So this great narrative, for some of you who didn't know, it's the same thing as the grand. It's just another wording for the grand narrative. And grand narrative is very, very Marxist. Klaus Schwab, he probably didn't have that in mind when he said great narrative. Actually, do you know who his teacher was? Henry Kissinger. You know who Kissinger is? Part of the Trilateral Commission. You know, part of that globalist, elitist setup, Trilateral Commission. He was part of that. You didn't know that, did you? Oh, by the way, you know who Kissinger, for some of you who didn't know about that one, he was part of the Trilateral Commission, but he was advisor to guess who? Rockefellers. Wow. They're all tied. There's a Marxist mindset right here. Marxist mindset about this one.